Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy RJ Game News USA here. Back today with another video, and today I'm going to give my review for Disclosure Day, the latest Steven Spielberg flick about aliens. So, if you like this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Before I even do the review, let me go over some of the minor conspiracy controversies going on here. Yes, this is clearly a psyop. Obviously. Yes, this is clearly a movie designed to make you feel as though aliens are your buddy or your pal or your friend, when in reality, they might not be. Right? Another thing I like to add is, clearly aliens do exist. I think a lot of the public actually knows this at this point, and so I feel like a lot of the people getting like shocked that they were seeing this information for the first time, these are the same people that believed in the COVID virus. They're the same kind of people that, you know, believe Biden won in 2024. Like, these are the kind of people that are just normies. You know, and I understand there's a lot of normies out there, but I think a lot of people are awake to the bullshit going on, you know, in our country. So, putting all that aside, there's other criticisms involved that involve around the movie, but not the criticisms in the movie. For example, the idea that it's supposed to somehow put down God and Christianity. And I did see that part in the movie, but it was a very brief part, and I don't think it was foul or out of bounds. It's just part of the psyop, of course. If aliens are real, that doesn't really speak to anything, whether or not God exists. And not only that, but I still leave it as open as a possibility. Aliens could be demons, aliens could be angels, they could be interdimensional beings, they could be time-traveling humans. There's a lot of possibilities of what these entities are. So, that's the real-world implications going on. Also, around the same time that all this real disclosure is going on, the timing couldn't be more impeccable. Nobody's a bigger insider director than Steven Spielberg, so I'm not surprised at all. So now I got all that side issue stuff out of the way with this movie. I want to talk about the actual movie itself. Is it good? Well, I watched it, I sat through it. I didn't regret my purchase, and I enjoyed most of what was happening. So that's an 8 out of 10 right there. This is your pretty standard 8 out of 10. You know, I consider 7 out of 10 average and borderline. Did I regret the ticket? I don't regret the ticket here. It's not exactly what I expected going in. To be quite frank, I expected, I don't know, humans to be disclosed this information a little earlier. And they weren't. It was towards the end of the movie. Big spoilers, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and spoil some of the film now. So, I'm going to start with some of the negatives real quick and get the quick negatives out of the way. The ending sucked. Like, I'm just going to say, if you're the type of person that throws out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to a movie, like if the ending sucked, then you just regret your entire time watching, don't bother with this movie. Anything that's an ambiguous ending pisses me off. But it didn't piss me off to the degree that I regretted my time spent on the movie. And I'll explain that when I get to the positives. But, you know, in correlation with that ending, basically the lead agent basically gave up at the very end. And that's egregious enough, and one of the other agents calls him out for it. But then he actually proceeds to give up as well and just walk away. There was a lot of inconsistencies and things that didn't make sense. For example, Margaret, she ends up getting sort of this power of empathy and can make people see other people in her. And that somehow gives her the ability to let people just do what she wants, somehow. And I don't think that was explained well enough. And that's a lot of what this issue with the movie was. Okay? They really didn't touch too much on explaining shit. And they kept things too ambiguous, in my opinion. Even the hard evidence they showed, they didn't spell it out XYZ for you. They kept it so damn ambiguous. I feel like almost on purpose there by Spielberg. So yeah, and of course the very, very end, the alien whispers something to her, and she goes on camera, she's in front of the whole world, and she says, "Listen." And then the screen goes black. Terrible ending, right? But it's kind of like with The Sopranos, right? The Sopranos is a great show. But do I throw out the entire Sopranos because the ending is shit when it cuts to black? No. There's a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows that have shit endings. A lot of them do. Even some of the best ones of all time. Hell, I think Dexter is famously ostracized for its awful endings every series it attempts. Right? They never figured out how to end that shit properly. And it's still one of the greatest shows of all time, in my opinion. Now, this movie by no means is an all-time great movie. It's a movie I probably won't think about too much now after release. I certainly don't want to watch it again. So it cannot reach the territory of a 9 out of 10 for me. I wouldn't call it amazing. I wasn't disappointed with what I seen either. And so I think overall, my 8 out of 10 kind of fits. And we really haven't had many 8 out of 10s this year. This is what an 8 out of 10 looks like. Now, I want to get to the positives. I feel like I was too negative in the beginning of this part of this review, but I want to explain why it's good. So, the first positive right off the bat, this movie makes you feel something. Like, to be quite frank. This movie makes you feel something. You can't quite put your finger on it. But there's something that just feels like, because they're so focused on empathy, because they're so focused on character-driven narratives, between social relationships, that you feel something watching this movie. So that's a positive, that's a takeaway. And that does go along with another positive, which is great acting. I think the acting here, although not like masterpiece level, was stellar. Stellar enough, people acting the way they should be acting for what their character was. Characters that knew their role and did their thing. We had a great villain, and we had, a hero. We had a conflicted woman, Jane, right? We had Margaret the reporter. All performed very well. Hugo performed great as well. There was nobody in here that I just was like, oh man, that's a stinker. No, the acting was fine. And I also want to give pacing props too. At a movie that's sitting at 2 hours and 27 minutes of runtime, it could have very easily found itself in a position where there was giant lulls and boring time. Now, I'm sure if I took some of my friends to see this movie, they would probably feel there was boring lulls and downtime. I never felt that way. I felt like the movie kept moving its plot forward. And overall told a pretty great story, even though it didn't stick the landing. And that brings me to another positive, which is the action. Hey, this is like your standard blockbuster Hollywood movie. It's not, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, this is an action movie, or oh, this is a sci-fi movie, or oh, this is a comedy, or oh, this is a horror movie. Definitely not a horror movie. Gonna point that out right away. But it did have elements of a lot of different kinds of movies, right? To make a tapestry of a pretty good movie. So, there was definitely some action sequences that were fun. But I don't know if I would have liked to sit there and watch nothing but action sequences. The fact that they kept it so balanced and they kept it so varied with variety, I enjoyed. And I generally didn't know where the plot was going most of the movie. Now, did it lack a twist or anything that was super special and memorable? Yeah, sure. Definitely did. For example, if the alien towards the end that was shown, ripped their heads off and then said, we now control you, Earthlings, I would have thought that was fucking cool. Obviously, they didn't go that route. They kept the aliens as friendly. Although, in my opinion, I do think it's wrong that... I don't know why we give aliens so much props when we show them as benevolent whenever they do abduct children. Like, in the movie, they're abducting children and doing things to children. And we're just supposed to be cool with that because they're benevolent beings of some kind? Like, again, I don't know, and this is in real life, too. This is my criticism of people that like aliens. How could you say they're benevolent when they abduct people against their will, do experiments on them that they don't like, and when they remember through repressed memory, they don't enjoy them? Like, that's one of my biggest evidences for why the aliens are probably not good. You know what I'm saying? And in this movie, there's no pushback on that. There's no pushback on the aliens abducting children, you know, and doing things to them and changing their lives. So, I think that's wrong. And I would say visually and scenery-wise, there was a lot of great scenes and a lot of great settings and a little bit of cat and mouse mystery on where Daniel and the reporter are traveling and how the agency's trying to catch up to them, and you know, that cat and mouse game, that's what kept the through line of the movie all the way through. You know, I even thought stuff like the sort of a-hole boyfriend of the reporter, you know, I thought he was a little bit of the comic relief. I thought there was a little bit of comic relief here and there, especially when the house is invisible and the agents run into the house, and there's a little bit of comic relief, but it's not really over the top. So yeah, overall, good work by I almost said Springsteen. Good work by Spielberg. I don't need a sequel. I'm good. I don't need to watch it again. I'm good. Maybe it makes our top 10 of movie of the year list at the end of the year. We'll see. But overall, I do recommend this movie for the general audience. But again, you know, if you've watched this far in the video, I pretty much spoiled the movie for you. And if you have listened all the way through this review, and I did spoil the whole movie for you, you probably don't even care to watch it now. But I'm just giving you my honest thoughts on what I thought about it. So anyway, that's it for now, guys. Let me know in the comments below, have you seen Disclosure Day? And if so, let me know. But until next time, this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.